Okay, let's go ahead and get started on the second session of Chapter 3. Chapter 3 tends to be a long session, and so I broke it into two parts. The first section, of course, we studied on the rules of Shiva, the rules for the Dagesh Forte, um, and so what we want and how we to break syllables down. Both the syllables must start with a Hebrew consonant and have one vowel. They can be both either closed or open syllables. That means consonant vowel is an open syllable, consonant vowel. Consonant is a closed syllable. And like I said, we learned about the rules of Shiva too, which are very important, and also how to identify the comets from the comets Hatuf. And we studied about the method and the different rules on that too. So let's go ahead and get started on the remainder part of chapter 3. We're going to start out on 3.8 with the furtive patak. We've learned that the Hebrew vowels are pronounced after the consonant which they are associated. For example, ba is rendered as ba here, as ba, not as av. So therefore, however, there's one minor exception to this rule. Normally you have consonant then a vowel, not a vowel and a consonant. But there is one minor exception, and really it's really not even a vowel to be considered. So when a word ends in a het or an ayin, a patak may appear beneath this consonant and must be pronounced and transliterated before the guttural. This special use of the patak is called the furtive patak. In terms of breaking down syllables, the furtive patak is not considered to be a full vowel, nor is it to be counted in syllabification. So note the following examples. We're going to give some examples here. So basically, it's not to be counted as part of a syllable. It's not. It's actually part of the last syllable here. So, for example, you got boreach. Remember the het and the ayin at the end of a word really don't have a sound of their own unless they have this vowel, and it's usually a patak here. So you got bo reach. So it's actually, we break this down into bo, the bait, with a dagesh lene, with a holum, this vowel holum, and then we have the second syllable start with a consonant, the resh, the sere, and then the short a and the chet at the end. So basically it's borech. And so it's just two syllable word here instead of boreach. It's boreach. It gives the sound to the chet and also the sound to the ayin. All right, here we have the second. We have notea, and we have the noon and the holum broken into one syllable, and then the tet, the sere, the ayin, and the patak. Notea, notea. So that's the only exception you have where the vowel comes before the consonant at the end. It's called a furtive patak, and it happens with chets and ayins. We have the third word, rakia, the firmaments, rakia, rakia, rakia. It's the firmaments. And we also commonly know, this is very common to us, ruach. And this is a one syllable. It's not ruach, it's ruach, one syllable, ruach. It gives that chet a sound right there at the end. Now, we've talked about the quiescence of the aleph before. When aleph occurs without a vowel, it is quiescent, as in chatat. So you got a dagesh, because is this a non-begagfat letter? Yes, it is a non-begagfat letter. So it's going to be a double in dagesh. So when the aleph is quiescent, it is not considered to be a consonant with a reference to the rules of syllabification. This word should be divided as chet, patak, and then you got a tet, and then you have another tet, comets, and then an aleph and a tav. And so it's as if it's not even there, but you just put it in. That's how you divide it in there. All right. 310, Hebrew diphthongs. Now, this is what we were getting into. You hear a lot of this modern pronunciation, and of course, in the biblical pronunciation, it's a little different. The Hebrew diphthong. In Hebrew, there's a cluster of consonants and vowels that always act together as a unit. Technically, this phenomenon is called a diphthong. A diphthong is a grammatical term used to identify sounds normally distinct, but now function as a single unit. The most common Hebrew diphthong is the patak, yod, hirik. Syllables that contain this diphthong are considered to be close because they end with a consonant. So note the following examples for syllabification purposes, for breaking them into syllables. You got this shemaim, not shemayim. It's not 3 syllables, it's 2 syllables. Sha, mime. Sha, mime. And that's how you would write out transliterated. It would be a shin, long a, mem, short a, hirik. Yod, hirik, and then mem, sofit, or final mem here. Shemaim, not shamayim. Okay, here you have bite. Here you have bite for house, and shemaim is heaven. Bite is house. Again, this is a monosyllable, bite. This is a dogish lane in this bait because it's a begakafat letter, and there's no vocal vowel coming before it. Okay, so let's just summarize everything the last 2 sessions have been about. Okay, so in the following summary, all the major rules for syllabification are listed. These rules are not to be rigorously memorized, but rather that they should be understood and applied to breaking down syllables, pronunciation of words here. And let's go to everything we studied so far in the last 2 sessions. First, every syllable must begin with a consonant and have only one vowel. Okay. There are only 2 types of syllables in Hebrew: open and closed syllables. Open syllable ends with a vowel, and a closed syllable ends with a consonant. So you open is a consonant vowel, and a closed syllable is a consonant vowel consonant. Number 3, the dagesh forte doubles the consonant in which it occurs and must be divided in syllabification, or breaking into syllables. A dagesh in a begakafet consonant is a lane if preceded by a consonant, and a forte if it's preceded by a vowel. Very simple. If it's a begakafet letter and there's a consonant preceding it, then it's going to be a lane. If there's a vowel preceding it, it's going to be a forte. Very simple. Anything else in non-begakafet letters is going to be forte. Number 5, a dogish forte in a begakafet letter consonant doubles the hard sound and never the soft sound. So basically, it is a dagesh forte. Doubles it. It doubles the hard sound and gives it the doubling effect of the letter here. Now, gutturals and resh cannot take dogish lane or dogish forte. So gutturals reject the dageshes. All right. Number 7, a shava is vocal in the following circumstances: if it occurs under the first consonant of a word, if it is the second of 2 contiguous side-by-side shavas. Remember, the first one does the walking, the second one does the talking within a word. If it is under any consonant with a dagesh forte. So if you got a dagesh forte and there's a shava up under it, it is going to be vocal. If it is after any unaccented long vowel, it's going to be vocal. All right. Now, shava is silent in the following circumstances: if the previous vowel is short, if it is the first of 2 contiguous shavas within a word, The first one again does the walking, the other one does the talking. And if it is at the end of a word, which we saw with the kataft, to write, you write, and so that's the only exception to that there. Now, guttural cannot take a vocal shava, but it can take a silent shava, as in shamata, shamata. So it can't be vocal, but it can be non-vocal under a guttural. Okay, remember the geshes don't go into gutturals, but shavas can take a guttural, but they are non-vocal. Unlike the gutturals now, that's why the resh is what they call a semi-guttural. It does act like gutturals, but sometimes it doesn't. So unlike the gutturals, the consonant resh can take a vocal shava, and it is vocal. Now the reduced vowels on 11 is ba, ba, ba. You got the Hatuf Patak, Hatef Patak, Hatef Sagol, and Hatef Kamets. Always occur in open syllables. They are never silent. So these are vocal. These usually tend to come at the end in the proprytonic syllables. These tend to come in the proprytonic syllables. Now the method may be, that means basically that's going at the end the furthest away from the accented syllable. The method may be used to distinguish between comets and comets hatuf. Remember, method means bridle in Hebrew. It's that which uh, bridles in and tells you what letter this is. You know, is this a comets or is this a hatuf? Comets hatuf. Now the method occurs with the comets and not with the comets hatuf. So when you see that treat that as a long A syllable there. Okay. Uh, all right. All right, and not a short O. All right, so the furtive pontoc is not to be considered a full vowel, nor is it to be counted in the syllabification when you're dividing syllables. It must, however, be pronounced and transliterated before the guttural. Again, it's to give those, the pontoc is to give the ayin and the chet a sound. When aleph occurs without a vowel, it is quiescent, as in chatat, sin. Okay, we know that this dagesh and this tet has to be a dagesh forte, a double dagesh, because it is a non-begakafat letter. Okay, syllables that contain diphthong, which a diphthong is a combination of vowels to bring forth a single unit of pronunciation, are considered to be closed because they always end with a consonant on there. So, and let's go into some vocabulary too, because we need to really start concentrating on vocab words. There is some information you can order from Amazon. Um, the flashcards or the books and stuff. I highly recommend that for word studies and frequencies and stuff. But we give, they give us the amount of times it's listed in the Bible. Adam, 562. Eretz, 2505. Let's just go down each word. Adam, Eretz, Elohim, Av, El for God, Bain for son, Bait, house or household, Davar is a word, matter of thing, Yom for day, Yisrael for Israel, Yerushalayim, which is basically Jerusalem. And we have the tetragrammaton, the 4 letters of Yod He Vav He for Lord. Mitzrayim for Egypt. There's 2 Egypts, and we'll get into this when we get into nouns. Moshe, not Moshe, Moshe for Moses. Melech, you see the accent? That's a seglet noun. We'll get into that when we get into nouns. nouns. For king or ruler, Sus is a horse. Eved is a slave or a servant. Paro is Pharaoh. Shana is year. And shame is name or reputation. Okay, so that's basically where we're going to end at. I do encourage you to read the points, the writings at the end of the lessons. They got some really good points and stuff in throughout the series. Do go ahead and include that. Basically, getting into the name of the Tetragrammaton here, the imperative summons to praise, 3.13 in your book. It is going to be important to go through these, and it is mandatory that you have purchased the grammar book and the workbook. So that is a mandatory for you to do on there. So anyhow, let's go ahead and we'll finish up this. Concludes the course for lesson 3, and go ahead and start working on your homework for homework 3 in your workbook. And the next lesson will include going over the homework. All right.